Today, he mentioned that he needed.
Of course, meat. We gotta bring the meats with the veggies in this one, and cannot wait for this UFC 279 pay-per-view main card, main event. It's the meat event. It's Nate Diaz, 20-13, taking on Khamzat, who, yeah, at 11-0, has been running through absolutely everybody. You wonder what this is going to look like versus Nate Diaz, who is seemingly on his last fight of the deal. You wonder what will be next. Maybe he re-signs. Maybe he goes and fights Jake Paul if Jake Paul gets through Anderson Silva. Who really knows what is next for Nate Diaz? But the odds obviously are stacked against him in this one, as he's essentially being fed to the scariest guy in the UFC, and it's going to take, I don't want to call it a miracle meet, because obviously I love Nate Diaz, but it's going to take either a perfect performance or some sort of YOLO submission or YOLO knockout, maybe like he was able to rock Rocky Edwards, but I don't know. This one seems pretty tough. So what are your thoughts on this meat event? What are your thoughts on just the event as a whole? I mean, do you think that they're doing Nate Diaz dirty for this one? Do you think Nate Diaz should welcome something like this? What are your thoughts overall? And are you taking Nate, or are you obviously rolling with Khamzat?
I would love to say I'm going to pick a Nate and he's for sure going to win, especially with those odds, but there's a reason why those odds are the odds that we see on the screen. I think Boars, aka Wolf, is going to absolutely dismantle Diaz. Now, does he get the finish? That's the real question, right? Like, on paper, he's going to win no matter what. A sub, I really doubt it. It's got to be TKO, KO, or a decision. But who's finished Nate Diaz besides Masvidal? But that was a doctor stoppage. It wasn't a KO or a TKO. And then, he hasn't been finished since 2014 or something, like a long, long time. I don't know if Chimaev couldn't finish Gilbert Burns, who has been finished multiple times in the UFC. I don't really see him finishing Nate Diaz. I think he's smothering. I think Nate Diaz is crafty. I think he knows how to survive. We all know this. He's a savage. He's a gangster. So I think this goes the distance. I think Khamzat destroys him, though. But I think this is going to be a decision which barely nobody picked, as you see Tapology. Everyone's thinking a sub. If Khamzat subs Diaz, Khamzat's the GOAT, because no one subs Diaz. Like, let's be honest. Like, that's silly that's even that big. That's bigger than the decision. That's crazy to me. But only time will tell. But I got this decision, Khamzat.
Yeah, the props for this fight are actually pretty fascinating, right? And before we even talk about the props, 89% rolling with Khamzat. Majority of it is Brown. So to your question, is he going to be able to get the finish? It seems as though most of Tapology thinks he will be able to, and is likely to do so by KO TKO. And there's an even greater sliver of submission when compared to that decision too. So it seems as though decision is the least likely pick from the Tapology crew. And if we look at the props for this one, plus 700 is what you're getting for that Chimaev decision. If Diaz is crafty enough to survive this contest against the Wolf, who has been eating everyone alive, I mean, all of his wins are by finish, except for the one against Gilbert Burns, right? So Gilbert Burns was able to go into Khamzat's deep waters, but that was only 15 minutes, right? So this is a 5-round contest, and it'll just be interesting to see if, first of all, what Khamzat looks like in those later stages, and then if it does reach those later stages, does Nate Diaz survive? Sort of similar to how the Leon Edwards fight goes down, where he obviously lost the contest, but he survived nonetheless. So Chimaev at plus 700 decision might be something juicy, and I kind of like where your head's at in that one. And then if you look at the of the 89%, right, the decent chunk for Copper, plus 225 is the submission, and then the KO, which again is garnering the most Brown, is about minus 135. So I honestly think there's some decent value across the board for a Khamzat. Whether you hammer that KO, you sprinkle the sub, or you dink that decision, I think there's some decent plays. There's some decent plays out there for sure. But if we're trying to play devil's advocate, find a way to appease all of the Nate Diaz Army fans out there, what is a chance for Nate Diaz to win this fight? I mean, 11% is rolling with him over on Tapology. They seem to think that Copper sub is most likely. If there was a world where Nate Diaz wins this fight, how does he get it done against Khamzat?
In my opinion, and that's what I was going to say also, is one thing to look at is that 4th and 5th round finish by Diaz, because We haven't seen Khamzat go 5 rounds. We really don't know. And if he tries to pull off a Gilbert Burns move where he just goes full force for 3 rounds straight and Diaz still isn't out, what's going to happen in 4 and 5? So definitely check those out for a little sizzle hedge. But I like the decision Chimaev. 'Cause, man, if he KO or TKOs Diaz, that's insane because nobody else has been able to do it for a very long time.
Yeah, 100%. It's Josh Thompson. It's the only time. It's 2013, and that's if you're just counting like an in-fight stoppage, right? I mean, it was the TKO was in between rounds via the doctor stoppage at the MSG card that we were at. But as far as like putting Diaz out, Josh Thompson's the only one in the UFC to be able to lay that claim. So if Khamzat is in that rare class, then it wouldn't be the most surprising thing, given that it is Khamzat Chimaev, but it would be fascinating nonetheless. So I'm with you all the way. I actually do think Chimaev might be able to get this finish in this one, but I kind of like your Diaz sprinkle round 4, round 5 finish. I mean, you're gonna be getting plus 3,500, plus 4,000 probably for those numbers. So might be worth inspection because Khamzat, I don't want to say he faded in round 3 against Gilbert Burns, but he was tired, right? He looked a little bit different than he did in that first round. And although he demonstrated great heart, great grit, what's he going to look like in rounds 4 and 5? So taking Chimaev, hoping that it's a close fight. Going to be pretty bummed if this thing ends early. Any last thoughts, Meat? I feel like this is going to be fun.
No, this is definitely going to be fun, and it's going to be interesting to see if Chimaev does Gilbert Burns or if he plays it more tactical, slower pace to survive all 5 rounds. If he goes slower pace, I don't see a finish. If he goes fast pace, insane, he better get that finish the first 3 rounds because 4-5, we all know how Diaz rolls. So, throw in the comments who you got, how is he going to do it, and make sure to smash that meat and subscribe.